Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen, all in crypto here, and welcome back, guys, for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily market update. We will, of course, be addressing some of the price action that we're seeing on this dreadful Sunday. And looking at it with a broader context, you know, the total market caps are very much at resistance and very much consolidating, ready to break through to new all-time highs. In fact, the total crypto market cap, obviously largely made up of Bitcoin, is already at all-time highs, but the total 2, total 3, and others are kind of consolidating in and around there. And we believe that's ultimately going to lead to that upside continuation. 2025 is going to be a spectacular year. Are we all feeling, or is the market feeling a bit of a hangover from the crypto bull? Lots of hype, lots of kind of narratives coming out of all of this. You know, crypto's front and center, and that's obviously, or I think quite naturally, a time where you can kind of expect some sort of a counter move to what the news may be suggesting. But in the grand scheme of things, all is okay. We will be addressing that. We're going to be talking, of course, about Trump's meme coin doing spectacularly, up another 200+% over the past 24 hours. We'll be looking at the markets generally. Then we're going to be talking about what's going on the macro. Yesterday, I can't remember whether I covered it in our daily market update, but the Treasury Secretary announces the US will hit its debt limit on the 21st of January. So a day after Trump's entering into office, and that's obviously going to take place tomorrow. Really, the bigger trajectory of all this is what Trump means for crypto, and I think we've got a lot of confirmation in regards to what's coming this year. But there is some macro stuff that needs to be weighed in on, and certainly more broadly, what the ramifications of that are for markets generally and where crypto finds itself there. But let's start things off with the Trump coin. Now, we've said we're not the biggest fan of this at all. However, if people are going to make money off it, we've got no beef whatsoever. I don't really see the reason for Trump to launch a meme coin. I know 80% of the tokens are, of course, held by the Trump coin team. But you can see this is doing rather well, certainly since its launch that was announced on the crypto ball. There was a team wallet that deposited 4.5 million Trump, worth $178 million into Binance. So just be careful, guys. You know, crypto is very volatile when it comes to the meme coins. They're certainly exaggerated. Is Trump's token taking away from the space more broadly? It has certainly started off as quite a brutal day today, and we're going to talk about that. We did look on the smaller time frames how Bitcoin really had just come into, you know, if we can chop this up into a range, there was this sort of potential inverse or potential head and shoulders pattern that we warned people about getting too spooked from. And since a lot of people tried to take that short, which is counter to the bigger trend, which is what you need to be following as an investor, of course, the opposite has taken place, and altcoins have really rallied in the face of this. But Bitcoin is consolidating. This is a consolidation, but this consolidation is just a pit stop in what is a broader journey to the upside, and that's still very much the case. And sometimes days like this are a great reminder of just how volatile the cryptocurrency space is. But when you look at the broader trajectory of the market through the lens of technical analysis, certainly when it comes to Bitcoin, we've got lots of higher technical patterns with targets that take us to the upside. And of course, the fact that you're in a very pronounced uptrend is evident. You've got the total cryptocurrency market cap, which really just broke out of all-time highs and is actually consolidating. It's very common once you break an all-time high, you'll consolidate around it. So you'll break it on volume, which we've seen, and then you'll have a period of consolidation before that continuation. Of course, this is the total cryptocurrency market cap. If we look at, and let's do this, let's pop up the likes of Vanex Semiconductors, and let's make this a little bit smaller. You know, you can see what it is we're kind of expecting for the cryptocurrency space in the coming year, in 2025. And remember, this is total market cap we've got on the left, and of course, Vanex Semiconductors on the right. I think Nvidia is another good example. If I can just find Nvidia, here we are. You know, you can see there's often a period of consolidation once you break a high before you get that continuation. And this journey post all-time highs, I think, is what's to come for the crypto space. Really more broadly, I can show you plenty of examples, but we're looking at total 2 on the left here, or total, sorry. This is total 2. You can see how it kind of wound up. And Vanex Semiconductors is probably a better one to keep on in regards to what I'm showing you right now. You can see it's very common at an all-time high, you'll sort of pull back and then set up that continuation. And that's kind of where the market's at right now. So this short-term volatility that you're all kind of experiencing is really, in my opinion, nothing to be worried about. And what is important to be focused on is what's coming this year. And we think that very much looks similar to the Vanex Semiconductors chart, NVIDIA, or some of a lot of charts out there that actually take all-time highs. There's often sharp consolidation around it. Perhaps like the total, you'll break above it and consolidate or pull back into what was a previous resistance, all-time high resistance, now a support. But that continuation, that journey ahead of us is very much still to come. And if we sort of go back and we look at the total 3, everything excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, not only do we have price targets or technical patterns that take us to the upside and see that kind of post all-time high Vanex Semiconductor move that we're looking at here on the right, we also have a hell of a lot of sort of fundamental things going. And this is others of course getting hit quite hard today. Altcoins getting hit quite hard today. I think there's a bit of a hangover, maybe Trump's coins stealing a little bit of liquidity from the space. But ultimately, I don't think that this is broadly anything to worry about, particularly at all. If you guys want to become a Patreon, now's the time. We do have a Sunday meeting where we'll be looking at altcoins in a lot more detail. Also, you'll unlock my portfolio. But really, my job is to offer a steady hand or a voice of reasoning in what can be a very volatile space. You've got some altcoins 5, 6, 7, 8% down today. Ultimately, if you look at where they've came from, it really puts things into perspective. And if you look at where we're going, which we've just done through the lens of comparing total 2, total 3, others, which is basically a chart of the overall market with the likes of Vanex Semiconductors, NVIDIA, I could show you hundreds of examples. It's very common when you sort of come to an all-time high, you'll pause at it, you might put a toe above it, you'll pull back into it, and then you'll see that continuation. And that's very much what I think is ahead of us, and that's what we need to focus on broadly as investors, not short-term price action, because crypto can be very much a trap in regards to people doing that, trying to be traders, and then losing all their money. It's often a look one way, go the other. So Trump is obviously taking office tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of uncertainty around that. There's already a lot of uncertainty, I think, around monetary policy right now. Just the other day, I don't know if I covered it with you guys or not, but the Treasury Secretary Yellen, who's going to be on her way out, by the way, announced that the US will hit its debt limit on Tuesday, so the day after Trump. Yellen has advised the Treasury to start extraordinary measures. And those measures are likely going to be things like continuing to drain the reverse repo, which is, they've already drained $2 trillion off of it. So a lot of the QT's been null and void by what the Treasury's been doing in regards to issuing money or issuing debt, essentially. The interesting thing with this is ultimately, I think this leads, and there was a great article done by Zero Hedge. You can see my searches coming up on the right here. It's great that Google pinpoint that towards us. Let me know what shorts you think I should get. But it's very interesting because the reality is there's going to be more debt created. And we see that with the limit or the ceiling now being reached. There's going to be an expansion of that very likely. The Treasury, before doing that, are likely going to start to drain their account. So this is the Treasury's cash balance. You can see Tyler here highlighting the effects of them doing that on the stock market. Ultimately, the reality is more debt creation is coming, and the debt ceiling will not be permanent. It will be raised. There's already been rumors in regards to them doing that. Again, of course, this all kind of factors in. I don't want to go too much into detail because I lose people when I talk about the macro stuff. Factors into the bond market, the yield markets, and thus the currency markets. And there's a problem that needs to be solved there. But we know that right now there's probably a lot of uncertainty going into tomorrow. And I think the important thing is to focus on what the chart's telling us in the bigger time frames, which we looked at through the lens of total, et cetera, and that is that there's more continuation to come, and there's this real kind of continuation of the bull market ahead of us, and actually the stock market isn't in a bad position at all. On top of that, obviously, we're starting off a new week of economic data with a new president. It's not spectacular. Tomorrow is a kind of The US markets are closed. So could be interesting, could be a little bit lackluster, and then they'll reopen again. And we've got some interesting data, largely with other central banks, and that might factor into the dollar market. So I think there's this big question about what's going to happen with dollar strength and the sort of bigger markets more broadly. But as far as the cryptocurrency space is concerned, it's very well positioned. Yes, the space is down today. It's a bit of a hangover perhaps from the bull, but ultimately the broader trend is still on, ladies and gentlemen. And we've got that kind of VanEck style post all-time highs to come, or Nvidia, or really any chart that takes an all-time high. That the total cryptocurrency market cap, just like we said with Bitcoin, are very much doing what you'd expect. This broadly is going to lead to continuation of the trend, which is an uptrend. And many altcoins, when you look on at them individually, are kind of at this kind of initial start, aligning with what Total 2 is suggesting. Certainly what we think is to come post all-time highs, which we do think is to come. A lot of altcoins are really just at the start of this sort of really broad uptrend. They've kind of woken up, and now there's that epic time ahead of us. And I think 2025 fundamentally is going to be the year that sees all that come to fruition. So that's it from me, guys. Don't worry too much about short-term price action. I wonder what's going on with Trump's coin and how maybe that's impacting the markets. Certainly, I think taking away from certain projects, maybe it's draining a little bit of liquidity from them. When we look technically on the big time frames, everything's okay, guys, and that's what's important for you to focus on as an investor, not short-term price action. Going to be interesting to see how all this, and there's likely going to be some volatility around the resolving of the debt ceiling. The ultimate reality, though, is that they're going to continue to, certainly with interest rates where they are, issue debt because they have to. It's kind of a snowball until they come up with some sort of a solution for that. And I think crypto is actually going to play a role in it. So that's it from me. We've got an interesting week ahead of us as far as economic data is concerned. But on that note, guys, I'm going to love and leave you. Have a magical Sunday, and we'll be back tomorrow with another daily market update.